Hello, you are watching Shalom World News. I'm Marina Grosu from Washington, D.C. Here are the latest headlines from around the world. Pope Francis is urging young Africans to never give up on dreams and to be ambassadors of peace. Addressing the children on Africa Day, the pontiff called them to rise against the huge problems in their continent. On the occasion of the annual commemoration of the founding of the African Union, the Pope met nearly 1,500 African children accompanied by their parents and diplomats on Monday. Meanwhile, the Holy Father also consoled a group of Polish children fighting cancer from Wrocław Cancer Clinic. The Pope urged them to spread the good news of God's love and emphasized that Jesus offers comfort in times of suffering. Russia said on Monday that its military attacked Ukrainian air bases during overnight raids, and Ukrainian forces had shelled industrial installations inside the country. The state-run Russian news agency said that Moscow conducted multiple raids on Ukrainian air bases. Other air bases may have been damaged, but Ukraine has not confirmed this. After a second night of bombardment, the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv, came under attack for the 16th time this month. Officials claim that none of the targets were struck in the morning and that the majority of the drones and missiles fired overnight had been shot down. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky praised U.S.-supplied Patriot anti-missile defenses in staving off Russian attacks. The Vatican's Dicastery for Communication has come out with a new document that details how Christians can engage with social media in a better way. The document, titled Towards Full Presence, a pastoral reflection on engagement with social media, was issued on Monday, May 29th. It explains how the presence of Christians on social media will be an opportunity to bear witness. The document inspires believers to be loving neighbors on social media platforms after being inspired by the parable of the Good Samaritan. It exhorts Christians to be a good neighbor by being willing to listen to those they communicate with online. The goal, says the document, turns encounters into real relationships and strengthens local communities. Christians are also called to be the Good Samaritan to heal the wounds created by toxic digital environments, says the Vatican document. On Monday, May 29th, Uganda has enacted a law carrying severe penalties for those engaged in same-sex relationships and promoting homosexual behavior. The Anti-Homosexuality Bill 2023 was inked into law by President Yoweri Museveni. There was a hue and cry when this bill was voted in Parliament on March 21st, forcing the president to intervene. He asked lawmakers to once again look at the text of the legislation and clearly point out that being a homosexual was not a crime and only same-sex sexual acts were criminal acts. During the May 2nd vote, the modified version of the bill was passed almost unanimously. The amended text states that a person who is presumed or suspected of being homosexual, who has not committed sexual acts with another person of the same sex, does not commit the offense of homosexuality. In spite of the opposition of the president, lawmakers have amended the new law to state that aggravated homosexuality is a capital offense. This means that repeat offenders could be executed for such behavior. However, the death penalty has not been applied in decades in Uganda. A court in Libya has sentenced 23 suspected Islamic State group militants to death for launching attacks that killed dozens of people, including Egyptian Coptic Christians. The appeals court in the western city of Misrata in the North African nation also sentenced 14 other militants to life in prison on the same charges, which include destruction of police facilities and public property. The court sentenced 9 defendants to between 3 and 12 years in prison. It also acquitted 5 suspects. There are still hundreds of former Islamic State fighters in Libyan prisons, and many of them are awaiting trial. The Holy Father has presented Italian President Sergio Mattarella with the Pope St. Paul VI Prize on Monday, May 29th. It was the Paul VI Institute that instituted the award in 1979 in honor of the pontiff who succeeded Pope John XXIII and brought the Second Vatican Council to a close. It is given to people or organizations who have contributed to the growth of the religious meaning in the world. Speaking to the attendees of the award ceremony in the Clementine Hall at the Vatican, the Pope stressed the importance of Pope St. Paul VI for the Second Vatican Council, which among other things emphasized the responsibility of lay believers. He also described politics as one of the highest forms of charity. The Holy Father said the presentation of the Pope Paul VI Prize to President Mattarella is a lovely occasion to honor the worth and dignity of service. An abducted Nigerian Catholic priest has been freed after 2 days of captivity. Father Matthias Opera was released unharmed on May 28th, Pentecost Sunday, said the authorities in the West African country. Father Opera was abducted by unidentified armed men while returning from a funeral service on May 26. Chancellor of the Nigerian Metropolitan See announced the safe release of the priest. In his statement confirming the priest's release, the Chancellor thanked the faithful for their prayers. Father Opera is serving as the parish priest of the Holy Ghost Parish of Owerri Archdiocese in Imo State. The West African nation is witnessing an uptick in abductions and violence after the end of the presidential elections. A deepening food crisis in North Korea has caused millions of people to go hungry and suffer from malnutrition. This was revealed by a study conducted by South Korea's National Intelligence Service. The study says that the North will run out of almost 800,000 tons of rice this year. North Korea has consistently experienced food shortages over the past few years. Potato and maize harvests were destroyed by a drought last year, and the situation was made worse by import restrictions from China as a result of the border closure brought by the COVID-19 outbreak. UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights in North Korea, Elizabeth Salmon, announced to the UN Human Rights Council that 42% of the populace there is underweight as a result of the food shortages. In the U.S. state of Louisiana, almost 100 congregations belonging to the United Methodist Church had their disaffiliation votes ratified by the regional conference recently. They are now joining hundreds of Methodist congregations across the country to say goodbye to the mainline Protestant denomination over a hot debate over homosexuality. It was on Saturday that the United Methodist Church's Louisiana Annual Conference voted to allow the departure of 95 congregations from the mainline church. The disaffiliations of these congregations will be complete on Wednesday, May 31st. Among those leaving the United Methodist Church is the First United Methodist Church of Shreveport, which is one of the largest in the state. While conservatives within the United Methodist Church stick to their book of discipline that bans non-celibate homosexuals from becoming ordained ministers and prohibits the blessing of same-sex marriage, liberals want the rules to be relaxed. Recently, 67 congregations of Methodists in Arkansas have disaffiliated from the United Methodist Church, and the phenomenon is being witnessed in several other states, widening the schism in one of the largest American Protestant churches. 2 pro-life activists were brutally attacked in the United States while praying in front of an abortion center run by Planned Parenthood. The duo was reportedly helping a woman with alternatives to abortion in front of a pro-abortion center in Baltimore County in the state of Maryland on May 26 when the attack took place. The Baltimore County Right to Life president, Dr. Jay Walton, released the news of the attack, saying that they were manhandled from behind and the perpetrator ran away. One of the victims, Mark Crosby, is currently hospitalized for treatment for serious injuries. Walton has called for proper action against the attacker. The South Korean government is struggling to improve its fertility rate, which continues to be the lowest in the world. The most recent data indicates 0.78 births per woman in the Asian nation, with a short-term fall to 0.7 is predicted. The government has instituted initiatives to promote childbearing in an effort to solve its demographic issue caused by a fast-aging society and dropping birth rates. The current Yoon Suk-yeol administration has drafted a wide-ranging policy, including increasing stipends given to parents with a child of up to 1-year-old, to housing support for newlyweds, and creating a new visa category to bring in more foreign workers. However, it appears that these actions have not yet significantly improved the fertility rate. 10 years have passed since South Korea's fertility rate, or the number of children born to a woman while she is fertile, fell below 1.1. Nigeria's Plateau State is witnessing protests by residents as members of an armed militia are unleashing mayhem. Citizens recently took out a protest march in the city of Jos, the capital of the state, in response to the carnage by the militia, who are known as armed herdsmen. Since May 15th, more than 130 people were killed in attacks on as many as 23 communities in Mangu and Riom local government areas. The violent attacks have led to the displacement of tens of thousands of people, looting of houses and establishments, and the torching of farmlands and granaries. Decrying the violence, press officer of Christian Solidarity Worldwide Nigeria, Reuben Buhari, said the attacks on villages are a sad testament to Nigeria's incapacity to protect its citizens. The Anglican Bishop of Jos, the Most Reverend Benjamin Kwashi, also lamented the failure of the government to protect innocent people. Attacks, looting, and abductions by armed militia have increased in the central part of the country comprising Plateau, Benue, and Kaduna states since the electoral period ended. The post office in the U.S. state of Kansas will be renamed after a Catholic priest and war hero from Kansas who is on the road to sainthood. The post office in Harrington will now be known as Captain Emil J. Capon Post Office Building. This move is aimed at honoring the memory of the Catholic chaplain who rendered heroic service during the Korean War and died in a prisoner of war camp. The bid to honor servant of God Father Capon was first introduced by Republican Tracy Mann in 2021. The rechristening ceremony comprised a memorial mass at St. John the Evangelist Church in Harrington, concelebrated by priests from Salina and Wichita dioceses. During his stint in Korea, Father Capon offered Mass regularly on the battlefield, often on the hood of a jeep, for Catholic troops. He prayed with them in the trenches and tended to the injured. In 1950, he was captured with soldiers by communists and taken to a camp in North Korea where he cared for inmates. He died on May 23, 1951, of pneumonia. Father Capon was declared a servant of God in 1993, and his canonization cause opened in 2008. And those are your latest headlines. Join us again tomorrow for more. You can also visit swnews.org for more updates. Shalom.